As people who are familiar with the day-to-day workings of the Storybook Free Public Library, you are probably aware of the current tracker problems at the circulation desk. What you may not be aware of is that there is a local philanthropist who is willing to donate up to $100,000 towards helping us get new technology in the library. My colleagues and I have been researching various different technologies, and I am here today to present to you a report on RFID and why I think this would be a good idea for our library. And what is RFID? RFID stands for Radio Frequency Identification, and it is a technology that uses radio waves to identify either people or objects. In this case, it would of course be the items we are circulating, so books or other media. There are various system components that you have to install in the library in order to run the RFID system. There's going to be a tech services station, at least one of them, for implementing the tags, a self-checkout, and then we'll have the current checkout station for the staff to state that. There will be security gates that will read the tags as they go out the door and be able to tell whether or not that their items have been checked out. And there are other possibilities too, but those are the four major ones. RFID systems in library information centers can be useful for four different major functions. Check out and check in are the first two, which is obvious. For the checking in and checking out, you can do more than one item at once on an RFID pad, whereas with a barcode reader, you have to get a line of sight on the actual barcode. And the checkouts can also be self-checkouts, which means that patrons can self-serve themselves at the library for something simple like circulation. And of course, this leaves the librarians and the other staff open to helping them with other things that are more important. The other two are inventory control, which you need a wand for that you don't necessarily have to buy right now, and it will work without it, so I won't really talk about that that much. And security, because security is built into the RFID chips that are inside the tags, so you can use them for both circulation and security at the same time, which gives it an advantage over separate systems. Also, we will not have to buy a new ILS system, a new software to run our circulation, because RFID can easily be made to compatible with our current ILS. There are several companies that make RFID systems. TechLogic is one, 3M, Biblioteca ITG, Envisionware, and MK Sorting Systems are the five big ones. We're going to need a substantial amount of investment capital to kickstart this program. But as I've already spoken to you about, there is a philanthropist who's willing to front us up to $100,000. At a library our size, 1,200,000 books and 5,000 media items, the startup cost for the tags alone is going to be about $45,000. The self-check machines, depending on the company we go with, can be anywhere from like $5,000 a piece to $20,000 a piece, depending on how complicated the systems are. The tags are also depend on what company we go with. The tags can be around 20 cents a piece to about $1 a piece in the media tags, which we do not have to implement at this time if we don't wish to. Okay. Now this is the part we all want to hear about. What are the benefits? Why should we choose RFID? Well, it's going to make life a whole lot easier for a whole lot of people, and this is why. RFID makes things faster when you are checking in and checking out, as I mentioned earlier with the line of sight. You can do whole stacks of items at a time to check in and check out. You can also have the patrons check out their own items, which will free us up to do more programming or collection development or other items that we don't get to do as much because we're too worried about the checkout. It will make us much more efficient and the quality of our service will go up. There's also a certain wow factor with having RFID equipment in your library. Patrons really like it, they think it's cool, and will make them want to come to the library. The library I previously worked at had RFID equipment, and the children loved using it. They would, fight each other to use the equipment because it was so cool, and they loved it, and it was so much fun. So this will make your patrons, want to go to the library more because it's fun. And there's a reduced rate of error, so there won't be as many mistakes made when we're checking things in and out, so there won't be as many LMs going back to the shelves without getting checked in. Like I said, you can do more user services. You will probably be able to reduce staff hours because according to a recent study, for every hour the library is open, you can save 1 staff hour of work with RFID. It is also much safer for circulation staff because there aren't as many repetitive stress injuries that can occur with RFID as there can with other equipment. The security is much better because it is an all-in-one system and it's integrated into the tag, so you don't have to have multiple systems going on that could possibly not work with each other. According to recent information, especially from 3M, the return on investment will be about 3 to 7 years. So I think this would be a really good idea for our library, and I'm glad you took the time to listen to my presentation. Are there any questions? Yes?
I wondered if there's any major differences with the companies that you mentioned do the RFID, other than cost.
Okay, sure. Like I said, there are 5 major companies. The cost is obviously there, but there's a lifetime guarantee from TechLogic, but it is more expensive. So there's also interoperability with TechLogic, and there's remote viewing statistics with Envisionware and with Biblioteca ITG, which means that when people are using the self-check stations, that there's programs that you can have on your computer that will show you what's going on over there. And there's even an alert system that shows up with Biblioteca that will tell you if they're having problems with the RFID system in the checkout. Okay, 3M works with all the major ILSs, which is a big plus for 3M. So our ILS happens to work with most of these, if not all of these systems, and so that won't be a problem for us. But if we ended up upgrading to another ILS, changing over, then we could still use our 3M equipment, which is really good. Big thing with MK sorting systems is they have customized RFID tags, which are really cool, and they make your books stand out. It shows what library they're from, so it's easier to see which library it's from, so people don't return to the wrong library. They can also do RFID electromagnetic hybrids with Biblioteca ITG and with MK sorting systems. Yes?
So you talked about the benefits of the system. Are there any risks or downfalls to RFID?
Well, of course, there are, as with anything else, but I think the benefits much farther outweigh the risks. There's a couple of risks that are things that could possibly go wrong. I mean, most of the risks are things that could possibly go wrong, whereas the benefits are definitely the safe. For example, we could, the estimate that we made could be off, and we might have to pay more money, which would be not a good thing, but it wouldn't necessarily happen. And also, our productivity might not go up as much as some of these studies I'm looking at promise, but it will go up somewhat at least. And the readers sometimes don't work so well. They get less sensitive the more you use them. So when you're putting lots of books through them, it's possible we'll have to maintain them quite a bit. But the maintenance costs are only around 8 to 15% of the price of the equipment. And because we're going to be using less equipment with the system, it'll actually be a cost savings overall. And also there's some possible privacy concerns that people have discussed, but there really hasn't been anything proven one way or the other whether it's actually a problem, because the RFID tag really has a little chip on it, and it's only enough to store a small amount of information. And most of the time it's just the barcode number of the item. So you can't get patrons' information or anything like that. You don't have to worry about some book has, a list of patrons that have checked it out. So the privacy concerns are really, they're speculative. They're not anything for sure.
Okay, thank you.
right, thank you for listening to my presentation.